What's going on, everyone? Hey, the stream started a little bit late, and I apologize for that. I know I put out a Twitter message a few minutes ago, but I realized I hadn't eaten dinner, and I needed to wolf down a sandwich real quick. We're going to be building up a Panzer Fight Stick HITBOX tonight, made out of aluminum. So bear with me for a few seconds while I get everything set up, and we'll be ready to go here shortly. Pop a little note in chat, and I look forward to the stream. Thanks. What's going on, everybody? Hey, it's Jason, and today we are going to build a Panzer Fight Stick HITBOX out of aluminum for a customer in France. It's been a long day, I apologize. 13 and a half hours at work. Coming home, quickly eating a sandwich, and then building. My brain can be mush at this stage in the game. Anyways, we are building this for a customer in France, and you've probably seen a variant like this before. It's very classic and timely. It's going to be all black with black Sanwa buttons all the way around. No artwork, and a black Pro cable connector in our black Fight Stick case. So I'm very eager to get this started and get this done because I'm sure the customer wants me to mail it out as soon as possible. So without further ado, let me go ahead and switch the camera and we'll get started. Alright, great. So as you can see right here, we have our Fight Stick aluminum black Santex case. Looks just like our regular HITBOX, same size, 2 inches tall, all that good stuff, except it only weighs 2.5 pounds because it's made out of lightweight aluminum, but it is still very strong metal, so that's awesome. Alright, so first thing we're going to do is go ahead and flip this bad boy over like this, and we're going to add the feet. Just because it's easier to add the feet now than it is to do later when the buttons are installed. I do have my nice electric screwdriver today. I remember to charge it. Boom. Okay, as we get going here, if the audio seems a little off or anything, please let me know in chat so I can go ahead and tweak the music a little bit, as well as tweak the microphone as required, and no big deal. Eventually, when I do make new hardware kits, I have about a couple hundred of these things left. I am going to shorten up these screws because these are a little bit too long for the build, but at the same time I don't want to waste them, and they work just fine. So, don't remember, the feet do come in the hardware kit, but you can always add a bottom pad to this instead, or in combination with the feet. Those are available on our website. I think they're like $12.95. They do have a pressure-sensitive adhesive on the back that holds it in place, so you don't have to use any hardware to hold it down when you get it done. All right, now the next thing we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and take the top off. And the electric screwdriver makes short work of this. Alright, now we're just go ahead and take the top off. Very easy. Like that. And good. Fits nice and tight. Take a look at the bottom. Yep, it's pretty plain. No big deal there. Oh, Dustin, hey, thanks for joining in. I'm glad you were able to use the easy mod. Glad it worked out real well. I think I saw you post that on the Retro Arcade Stick Collective Facebook page. It came out really nice. Good job. Alright, now let's go ahead and focus on the front here. I always like to put the Pro Cable or USB kit in first, so we're going to go ahead and do that. Toss this in the trash, which is conveniently my floor, until I pick up after this. Alright, now you'll notice here with all of our Pro Cable kits, it comes with 2 plates, all the mounting hardware, and the cable itself. So let's go ahead and get that assembled and installed. Alright, these little brass rings, you don't need to install them, I never do. I just toss them. Alright, let's take these guys out of the pack. The reason we have 2, a lot of people ask me why I didn't just do 1. Well, this USB housing is actually a little too fat to fit through the opening that the Pro Cable part actually requires. So you can't actually use the same hole to feed it through, so that's why you have to do 2 plates with a little keyhole. Alright. Prep it, just go ahead and loosen this nut here, and it'll come right off. And it'll stay on the cable. Then you take your 2 plates, you line them up. One on this way, and you always want to put the countersink portions facing out, and you always key it so they're opposite of each other. Otherwise, you wouldn't have a nice solid connection to prevent gunk and junk from getting inside your stick. Next thing I like to do is put the gasket in its place, like so. And that kind of helps hold the plates in place. And then you can also thread a screw in to keep them from rotating as you then attach the nut and the washer down here. Alright. So let's go ahead and flip this over and do that. And of course the screw is going to fall out, so we'll just set that off to the side. It's not imperative that you have that screw on while you do this, but it does help, especially after you get it started and need to tighten everything down. Alright, what the heck? I'm going to take this off too. Not having much luck tonight with this. Alright, So you can see I've kind of got a weird claw grip going on here. Line this up and then just tighten this nut on. Alright, great. Just like that. What you want to make sure is this little slit, the lock in the lock washer, you want to make sure it's on the solid portion of the plate. You don't want it to end up on the opening of the key. Now, before you tighten this all the way down, I always like to line up this little nub. This is the key for the cable, so it goes in only one way. I like to line that up so it's facing down, down with the key, just for, that's just my personal preference. It doesn't really matter which way it goes, it's just convenient to have it pointing down. Alright, now we can go ahead and put this screw in like this. And this is, you can usually get this on finger tight, no problems, but I have had a couple customers say that theirs have gotten a little loose just doing it hand tight. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my, they're not channel locks, my adjustable wrench here, and I'm going to open them up. There is a little flat part on the Pro cable here. You want to just very gently get that locked into place. You don't want to smush the threads. And then I would normally recommend just using another wrench that's this size on the other side, but I don't have one convenient, so I just use these long needle nose, and I'd be careful not to drag them on the metal so I don't scratch it. But just grab it and twist, and like that, and then there you go. Just a little overhand tight, and we're good to go. And then just check your placement, and that screw held everything in place just nicely, so that is still pointing down, so you're good to go. Alright, next we'll go ahead and install this gasket, like so. And we'll go ahead and push it through the opening here. Alright, now that that's done, we can flip the case up and insert some hardware to hold it in place. So just line everything up, like so, and feed the hardware down through the plates and into the case. And then you'll notice here that the everything kind of lines up. I hold it with these two fingers, and I flip it over so it doesn't fall out. Then you insert the star washer like so. And go ahead and, whoops, you drop the 440 nut on the floor. So you grab the other one. Just go ahead and get that on finger tight initially, and then go over the stack of hardware I provide in the Panzer hardware kit, grab a second nut, or just don't drop yours. Alright, whoops. You gotta put the star washer on first so it stays locked in place, and then go ahead and thread on the nut. You'll notice I'm using my fingers to continue to hold, with just friction, these two screws in place until I get these down finger tight, like so. And once you get them finger tight, an interesting phenomenon happens. You actually get enough friction between the nut and the lock washer in the case that you can grab your small screwdriver here and then just start turning your screws to tighten them up, and the friction will prevent the screw from just spinning. And that's provided by that external tooth lock washer that we just installed. Alright, so you get that down nice and tight, you'll be good to go, and voila, boom, you're done. Bob Ross is dead, welcome to the chat. We are building a Panzer Fight Stick Hitbox edition tonight. Tonight for me, day for you, maybe, wherever you're at. Okay, now we've got that done. Let's go ahead and start working on our two switches. We've got a directional switch that converts your left, right, down, up inputs into DP, which is direct D-pad, left analog stick or right analog stick mode. And then we've got our lock button here that will disable everything on the front if we press it. Then we're going to open up our wiring kit here, also available with purchase of your Panzer Hitbox. And we're going to pull out a couple wires we're going to need. First, we're going to grab this. We're going to set that over here. That's for your left 3, R3, and touchpad button. This one here is for your start, home, and select. These little guys are for your buttons. We're going to set these off to the side. We don't need those quite yet. Also that. Alright, and that leaves us with these two wires. This is for the lock, and this is for the left stick, right stick DP mode. So just go ahead and plug these in. Black always goes in the middle, red and yellow. It doesn't really matter which way they go, on the top or bottom. It just affects which way you slide the rocker to make it go on left stick or right stick mode. So if you like to go down, you install it one way. If you like to go up, it's the other way. And in the middle will be D-pad mode, and that's the default. Alright, and same thing for the lock switch. Just go ahead and push on the quick disconnectors like so. And we're good to go. Alright, now I always like to grab an easy build board, or the easy build board, pull it out, and just examine everything real quick. To set this up, I want the left stick mode to work always. I don't want it to rely on the lock switch, so I'm going to make sure this little black slider switch is in ground. If you want to lock that out, meaning you want to make that disabled at all, anytime you lock it, you would slide that to K ground or kill ground. So we're going to leave that on regular ground. Alright, now you'll notice that some of these wires are longer than others, so that's going to dictate which ones go where. So obviously your mode selector switch has to go here because the wire's not long enough to get over here if you put the lock switch there, right? So the lock switch goes on this side and the mode selector goes on this side. So we just feed that in like so, line up the key on the switch housing with the key on the case and press it in like so. And we're going to do the exact same thing on the lock switch, and it just clips into place. Good to go. Alright, now the next thing we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and install the 6 buttons here. We're going to start on the left side, and you want to push these wires through the holes first. You're going to mate them up outside the case and click them in. That is my preferred method because I think it's easier. Okay, now the thing you want to consider is when you flip this case over, this is actually going to be on your left-hand side. I like to make this left 3 because it makes sense. It's on the left. I like to make the middle one the PS button, or excuse me, the touchpad click button, and the one that would be on the rightmost, the R3. Now the wires are long enough that you can kind of mix and match which ones you want to go, but the white is going to be your R3, so that's going to go here. Red will be touchpad, and blue is going to be the L3 button. And you can verify that because you line up the connector on the easy build, and I've labeled everything here: K ground, L3, K ground, TP, K ground, and R3. Easy enough. So you'll know which wire goes to which pretty easily. And if you want to mix and match on the left here too, all these wires are long enough that you can make that work as well. So now that we've got those in, we'll go ahead and we're going to orient these pins so they're closer to the table, so that puts them below the plane of the easy build board. And all you do is just plug in the wires like so. Make sure you got them plugged in nice and tight. These wires don't really matter if you put the black one on the left side or the black one on the right side of each of the switches. All you're doing is making a connection when you push that button, so it's pretty agnostic to which side is which. For conformity's sake, I always put the ground on the left and the signal wire, the colored wire, on the right as you're looking at it. Okay. Alright, now that those are all in, what we can do is just go ahead and pull that wire, and it kind of sucks all the buttons in, and then you just snap them into place, like so. Voila. Alright. Now you do want to kind of bend these tabs out of the way just a little bit to clear this mounting post. Alright, we're going to do the same thing on the right side. Again, tabs down, or tabs biased towards the ground. Sanwa, I think, is the only one that has both tabs on the same horizontal axis. Samitsu will do theirs so they're like this, and then the Samduxa put them right in the middle like this. So if you know, that would be Sanwa, this would be Samitsu, and then in the middle for both, I guess like that would be for Samduxa. And we get these all plugged in, like so. Good to go. Just kind of do a visual check to make sure they're plugged all the way in, and then pull the wire, suck them in place, and clip them down like so. And again, with this one, you're going to want to kind of bend those out of the way just a smidge so you clear that mounting post, and then you can actually clean this up under the easy build and plug it in like so. Okay, so we're pretty much we're done with that part. So now what we're going to want to do is we can either install the easy build or we can install the Brook board. We are going to install the Brook Universal Fight board on this fight stick. This is going to allow it to work on the PlayStation 3, PlayStation 4, Xbox One, Xbox 360, right here, Switch, PC, Neo Geo Mini, PS Classic. I think it also works on Android and yeah, that's it. So lots of consoles, one single PCB, which is pretty great. Thank you, Brook, for making this. I know many people that are very happy that it exists. All right, so we'll go ahead and open up. We're going to set the box off to the side over there, and we'll just pull the board out like so. All right, get a good look at it. All right, you'll notice on this board it looks a little bit different than some of the other shops sell, and there's a reason for that. I actually have special connectors soldered onto this by Brook from the factory to use the easy build wiring the best. I decided to use a vertical header here instead of the horizontal because the wire that connects the two is only so long. Plus, it actually gets really close to the edge here, and I don't like to have the wires pinched that much. Plus, I didn't want to move this any closer to the buttons because it would sit underneath the easy build. All right, so to get this installed, we're just going to line it up here, and then out of our hardware kit, we're going to locate the short 440 screws. There's going to be a bunch of them. Just grab 4. Oops, there we go. And set them off to the side here because those are going to be the ones we use first. And we're going to screw the PCB down in its place. All right, I'm going to use my little screwdriver here because he's got a little tiny Phillips head connector. And just like this, line it up, screw it down, call it good. Oops. You don't want to screw these down super tight because you don't want to have the screw penetrate the silk screen, which covers and protects the copper underneath on the PCB, because you create some open areas which could potentially cause shorts across the screw head. So just be careful with that and screw it down until you get finger tight, and you should be good to go. Now, you don't have to install everything in the order that I'm installing it. You do it however it feels comfortable. I know a lot of people like to put their easy build in first and then put the Brook board in. It's all just a matter of personal preference. You can put it in whatever order you so choose, but I do recommend putting the USB or Pro cable connector or RJ45 connector if you're using a retro board in the case first, because you want as much room to work here when you're tightening the hardware down. Okay, that board is now installed. We're good to go there. We can take this USB cable here and plug it in. That should be fine just like that. Next, we'll go ahead and install the easy build board here. And you want to just kind of get some of these wires up above it because you're going to have to plug them in. But once you get it lined up, we're going to use some of the remaining number 440 screws to hold this in place. Now you will see here on the left that these boots do sometimes interfere, so what you can do is you can just bend those a little to the left like that, and guess what? It's not going to hurt anything. It'll be perfectly fine. It will not affect the buttons. You just do that and voila, now they clear the PCB quite nicely, if I do say so myself. Same concept as before when we installed the Brook board here. We're going to go ahead and use the 440 screws. Don't tighten it all the way down. There's no signal wires that go up here near my screw holes. I purposely did that. But there is copper grounding planes underneath it. You still don't want to break through the solder mask. Alright. Alright, just 2 more here, and we're good to go. We're actually pretty close to done with this build already. That's the joy of the easy build system and having all the parts kind of come together from one place, because it just makes it super easy to install everything. And apparently YouTube is telling me I have a video I can watch. Alright, cool. Done. So there you go. We're all good there. Now let's go ahead and start plugging in our connectors. It makes it, the easy build system makes this pretty easy to not mess up because most of the connector wires are only long enough to go to one spot, so it's hard to plug them into the wrong spot. And if you do, you just fix it. All right. And I made a mistake and forgot to grab this and make sure it was above the board before I screwed it down, but I think I can just loosen this here and take the screw out. Like so. Occasionally this happens, and if I just lift a little bit, we can get the wires, there we go, out like that, and then we can plug it down into the board like so. Alright, and we'll just go ahead and tuck the wires back down like that, so they're clean and out of the way. And then we can just go ahead and re-screw this corner in. Perfect. Alright, now we're going to take this wire here, we're going to go ahead and feed it under the circuit board for the easy build here, and plug it into this connector that says RS, ground, ground, and LS. That actually hooks up this switch to your brick board via these two connectors, and they're keyed so they only go in one way, and which end you put where does not matter. Voila, just like that, you are done. Next, we're going to go ahead and hook up our L3R excuse me, our L3, R3, and touchpad click wire. It looks just like this. Molex connector on one side, JST PH connector on the other. Both are keyed. They only go in one way. Clip it in, and then loop it down to the brick board like so. Boom, just like that. All right, finally, the last wire that we need to hook all this up to the brick board is our 20-pin IDC cable. You may remember these things from like floppy drives and old computer builds. They work great for this. We're just connecting button signals between the brick board and our easy build together, and just connect it like so across the 20 pins, and voila, everything in the fight stick is now connected to the Brook Universal Fight board except for the buttons. The buttons need to be connected to this, and then it should be done. Alright, so let's take a minute to admire our handiwork there. I think that looks pretty good. What do y'all think? Yeah. Alright. Now we go ahead and flip this bad boy right back over and look at it to make sure we got nothing, no dirt or anything on it that's going to be visible through the Plexi. And it actually looks pretty clean, although you can see a couple fingerprint spots. So I'm going to need a microfiber cloth to clean that. You'll have to excuse me. They're in my kitchen. 1 second. Alright, sorry about that. While I was out, I've been doing really good, and I have not been drinking any soda. Today, I decided to treat myself, and I got myself one of these new Coke with strawberries, available only in Japan right now. And it's really weird, but tasty. Hello, dog. Misha has decided to grace us with her presence, which means she's going to be in my way. Alright, so we'll grab the microfiber cloth here, and we'll go ahead and just clean up the case a little bit, just to make sure there's no paw marks on it from handling the case. Alright, and actually looking in the camera is the best way to make sure you get them all, it looks like. Maybe right here. That's just a little oil from the skin. It's not going to hurt anything, but... Alright. Cool. So that's good. Alright, so now what we're going to want to do is we actually have to install the Plexi. So as I reach over here behind me, here is the Plexi. It's brown. It's going to look terrible. No, just kidding. It's not brown. It's actually clear. This is the protective film that is installed when we cut the plexi so that the laser doesn't burn it or mar it or anything like that, and it protects it during shipment so it doesn't get scratched if it gets moved around and jostled. All right. Evo, yeah, HITBOX has been legal for Evo for a long time. No problems. As long as it has a simultaneous opposite cardinal direction cleaner, SOCD cleaner for short, it works. Brick Universal Fight Board has one built in. It's done in software. And if you want to convert your stick using one of our panels, we sell SOCD cleaners, excuse me, that you can plug in and take care of it as well. It's a hardware solution though, not a software solution. Okay, so what we're going to do first is peel the back, install it, and then we'll peel the top and install the buttons. So I always just grab here in the corner. Hopefully this comes off in one nice easy peel. All right. And just start in the corner, use a little bit of your nail, and get it started, and then you can just peel it away. There we go. Ah, this is gonna be an easy one. I like it. I try not to use my fingers on the plexiglass anywhere, because once you get fingerprints on plexiglass, it's actually quite difficult sometimes to get it super clean, especially if it's gonna be on the part that's facing the case. It's best to just take your time here and make sure that you peel it as cleanly as possible. You can usually hide it pretty well if you if you're installing artwork, but we're not installing artwork on this build, so we have to be very careful. All right. And it's just a slow peel to make sure it comes off clean. Once you get clear of the buttons and the cutouts, it's actually pretty easy. And voila, done. Alright, before you lay it down, you do a quick inspection of the case one more time, because you don't want any dust, debris, or hair to get between the two. Hair is not good, and it's very unsightly. You can see it quite easily. And in a house like mine, where I've got 2 cats and a dog that all shed like fiends, it can be a challenge sometimes. That's usually why I kick them out of the room while I'm building things, but Misha is being exceptionally needy today. All right, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna grab the included socket head, or excuse me, button head, 2.5 millimeter hex screws, and just go ahead and loosely tighten them. You don't need to jam them down real hard, because we're actually gonna loosen them up to peel the brown from the top before we install the buttons. Okay. Alright. There's so many screws that all look the same. Alright, cool. Alright, one more and we'll be off to the races. Where's that? There it is. Good. Cool. Alright, so we got that done. We'll go ahead and set our trusty little T-handled Allen key off to the side. Now, I'm just point out, this is made by Husky. It's a T-handle Allen key. I love using T-handles because you can really get in there and crank on it as you need to. Not in this circumstance, but in other circumstances where you're using Allen wrenches and you need to get a very tight fit or a high torque for a screw. But these are just real well made. I've had these for about 3 or 4 years now, and I really like them. Compared to like these Allen wrenches, which are also really good, color coded, have a nice finish to them. You don't get as much grip on the handle here when you're turning it down. That's why I like the T-handle. Alright, so we got that all set up, and you can kind of look down and you can see the easy build a little bit down through there. We're going to go ahead and peel this, but before we do that, I need to make sure all these aren't torqued all the way down, because I did accidentally do that on a couple. You want the heads not to be fully flush with the plexi, because as you're peeling the paper away, you want it to peel out the paper from underneath the screw heads too. So, alright, cool. Got that done. Now, just like we did with the bottom, start with the corner, peel it. As we start to get it away from the screw heads, we'll verify alignment by pinching the holes here just to make sure it's flush where it needs to be, and then we can tighten those down so we don't have to think about it later. I want to be very careful you don't scratch it. That's why I'm going real slow, and I'm not just raking my nail across it. All right, cool. So now you can actually touch this. It's okay to touch, but just be advised that you will have some fingerprints to clean. So as you peel it away, you'll see that it's going to want to peel out the plastic and the paper from behind the screws. And it did, so that's good to go. And once you get it clear of the screw head, you can go ahead and just tighten it all the way down. And you see I'm not doing a lot of force, just 2 fingers. You don't need a lot of force. All right, and then you continue with the peel. I'm using this microfiber cloth just to keep my oily, not oily, that's not right, the oil from my hands, everyone's got some, off of the Plexi. So it's easier to clean up later. Boom. All right. Alright. Boom, look at that. That looks really good, actually. I think we did a good job there. Alright. And we'll go ahead and just tighten down these screws. Again, 2-finger tight is plenty. These aren't vibrating, rotating, or holding any heavy machinery in, so you don't have to worry about them backing out or anything like that. And we're good to go. Alright, so most of the build is now complete. All we have to do is insert our buttons. Before we do that, let's go ahead and clean up some of this debris, i.e. the extra hardware that comes in the kits, because all of our kits are universal, so they fit with both the lever-based fight sticks and the HITBOX. We just want to make sure there's no extra metal around when we're working with the case and inserting the buttons, because we don't want to accidentally scratch it. Powder coat's tough, but metal's tougher. Alright, so we'll grab these buttons here that have been chilling up on our workspace and move them down to where we can get to them. And we'll just move the stick up to the very top of the mat here. And again, just to double check, the customer wants all black. Yep, black, 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 and black. Perfect. That would be really embarrassing if they wanted white buttons on the front and we had already installed black. But I did check that before I started, so. Alright, now each button has one of these little cables here. It's a JST connector on one side and 0.110 inch quick disconnect on the other. And all we're going to do is just plug these in. I usually hold the plunger down while I'm doing it because the plunger is directly attached to the micro switch, and the force sometimes wants to push the micro or the plunger out and the switch out. It's just a thing. It's called physics. Alright, and we get that lined up and good. And we're going to do that for all 17 buttons on top. No, that's not right. It's only 11 buttons on top. No, that's not right either. It's 12 buttons on top. 17 buttons in 24mm and 1 button in 30, and that includes the front. I'm going crazy today. All right. Sorry about that. And in case you're wondering, I did get these buttons directly from my shop. I do sell Sanwa now, as well as Sanduxa buttons. I have most, if not all of them, in stock. Actually, I don't have all the clear buttons in stock. I think I have a good majority of them for Sanduxa mechanicals, but I don't have all the clear ones in stock for Sanwa. I base up my stock on what is popular with builds, and clear buttons are actually one of the fewer types of buttons I use when I do full builds like this. Most people want these solid colors, so I tend to stock those more. That being said, I am going to probably start getting some of the clears in here shortly because I do want to have options, and I like to have them on the shelf. Right now I just kind of order them as I need them in packs of 50 from Sandwalk because they're not like an hour down the road from me, which is super convenient. Usually I can put an order in and it'll be here in 2 days. So if you're perusing the Sandwalk catalog and you need anything, you just let me know and I'll hook you up. I mean, you'll pay for it, but I can get it for you. Alright. Wait. I think I'm missing some buttons. I must not have grabbed enough. Yeah, I didn't grab the directional buttons. Fortunately, I did not put them away yet. Boom, right here. I only grabbed 8 for some reason. Bubbles04, konbanwa, welcome. Bubbles is actually one of the customers here in Japan. If I remember correctly, I think you live Tokyo Prefecture. Maybe. I think. I could cheat and look, but I'm not going to. Okay, do I still build super guns? I don't right now. When I moved to Japan, I couldn't bring everything with me, so I decided to leave the supergun parts back in storage in the US. That being said, I've been wanting to redesign the ad cap for a while, and I've actually slowly been working on it in the back. Nothing really to show off yet, but I do want to do that. Oh, Sammy in China. Hey, stay safe and away from that coronavirus. That looks really nasty. Stay safe, please. Don't get sick. Bubbles, I'm drinking strawberry Coke. Only in Japan can we get this. I'm very excited. It tastes so good. Mr. Black Goldfish. Konbanwa. Ohayo gozaimasu for you in the United States, where it is morning. Alright, now let's go ahead and get the buttons installed here. Now, I always like to stand the case up like this. I don't know why, it's just easier because of the wires. I think it's just a mental thing. It's just easier because if you try to do it while this is down, the wires get all bent up and it's silly. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to line them up. I always do tabs along the long axis here like that and push them into the case like so. And we're going to do that with all of them, making sure that we push the buttons through the easy build over here. Oh, that's right, Osaka. Bubbles, I forgot, I'm sorry. Osaka, where everyone walks on the opposite side of the elevator from those in Tokyo. Every time I go to Osaka, I walk up and down the elevator like I do when I'm here in Tokyo, and everyone gives me a mean face look because I'm doing it wrong. No, these are not mechanical switches. These are standard Sanwa switches, this SW68s. and retro gaming system collection. Oh my god, representing upstate New York. Welcome to the stream as well. Thank you for joining us. All right, now there you go. That's what the HITBOX looks like in all black, and you can see the ceiling light there, and the two Elgato air lights there, and the camera maybe there. That's funny. You gotta love light. All right, and you see we got a little dust and stuff on the case, or excuse me, the Plexi, as we were building it. So let's clean that off. All right, good. Okay. Cool. Now I go ahead and I flip this up again once I do it on the side. And this actually does two things. It prevents you from mashing the board and bending it as you plug the cables in. So I always also like to put my hand behind the Easy Build to provide some support as I plug the wires in, because I don't want to crack the board. I don't want to accidentally break any of the copper from stress or anything like that. So you just got to be very careful and gentle. I mean, you're not going to really break anything, but I've had a few customers just go in willy-nilly and start plugging these things in real tight without, and real hard without thinking about it, and they've cracked the board, and I've had to send them new ones, and so I'm very cautious when I build. And each of these wires are keyed, although, again, like I said earlier, it doesn't matter. They all just kind of fit in. Alright, so when you flip it over and that's done, just set it gently down on your mat. And then I always like to bend these wires over a little bit, like so, just because you'd rather them lay flat when the case bottom is on. Okay, there you go. That's all the wiring. It is 100% done. Alright, let's go ahead and flip this thing over and try it out. Okay, wireless board, have they done test for input lag? Check out input.science, or just Google WYDD lag test. He's a French engineer who developed, actually I have one here. He developed a bit of code that runs on an Arduino with a USB shield. You plug this into your computer, you plug your fight stick in here, and you you connect the ground wire to one of your signal wires on the PCB, and you let it run, and it tests it. He did some, and this is very accurate and very good to create repeatable results against all fight sticks. He's done some testing with the Brook board, the wireless board, with some more advanced gear, and I think it's got just the standard wireless lag, because it's wireless, but it's not any worse than the DS4, like one of these controllers here, you know, like this. Now we are going to be offering those here very soon for the Panzer. I have a couple things in the works to make that build with the wireless super easy, but I did design this, and I'll be implementing this or offering it as an option. It's an antenna mount that replaces one of the buttons in your case. And recesses it back a little bit. It's made out of metal, not plastic. It's not 3D printed. It is machined, so you know you're going to get a nice quality part that will last for years. And I've got some other fancy, fun stuff that will help you mount the board and battery and stuff as well, also made out of metal. But it's not quite done yet, and I don't have one to show you quite yet. All right, so we are good to go there. We'll lay the case down, and the build is complete. You're seeing lots of reflections from stuff, you know, up above, like my camera and my lights and stuff like that, but it looks pretty sick. All right. Okay, so I think we call this build done, except we still have to attach the bottom and test it. So this is the Pro cable that the customer got as well, so we're gonna go ahead and install that. Can you show off the other side of the base of the joystick? Yeah, okay. Here is the bottom. It's one piece, so it's nice and strong. Again, also made out of aluminum, and it just fits up underneath. We'll install that. Just give me a second. I always like to test my stick before I put the bottom on and button up the case, because you don't want to then plug it in like, a button isn't working, and then you want to troubleshoot and you have to take the whole thing apart. It's better to do it before you fully assemble it. All right. So I always use Joystick Show for my testing. It's just start run joy.cpl in your Windows machine. If you have a Mac, then you're going to need a piece of software to do it. I used to have a Mac and I can't remember what. I think it's Joystick Show actually, available in the App Store. But I no longer use Mac, so I just use joy.cpl, which is a control panel thing for Windows. All right. Okay then. Yeah. All right, plug that guy in, and Windows picks it up, and it'll come up as controller Xbox One for Windows. So go ahead and click Properties, and then you just push the buttons to make sure they all work. And you do that, no problems. And you're probably thinking, I don't know what you're talking about, I can't see it. So let me go ahead and share my screen with you guys so y'all can see it. Let's see. We're gonna do this. Window, add. Okay. Let's see. No. There we go. Done. Alright, so here I'll just put that like right here next to the window so you can see what I'm talking about. And just like the funny thing about it is if that's not the active window, it doesn't actually work. So you're like, hey man, I don't know what you're talking about. I can't see anything. And that's okay. So click on it to make it the active window, and then just go through the range of motions. You got left, down, right, up. I'm not a HITBOX player, so if you guys are, and I'm doing this wrong, sorry. Okay, test this SOCD. Okay, neutral, up. Perfect. Check the buttons. Alright, good, and those all seem to work. If you push this, the PS button, or excuse me, I guess it's the Xbox home button, it actually brings up the game bar, and a bunch of, on my system it brings up a bunch of random little side windows. But that's good to go. Now, if you flip this switch, that's the lock switch, nothing on the front works here, so that's good. And then if we do this, and then we click that, you'll see that it uses the XY axis analog stick, like so. And then if I flip it down, then it uses the X rotation, Y rotation. Good. And then if I go back in the middle, it does the regular D-pad. And you'll notice that because we switched that to K ground, or regular ground, this will always work regardless of the status of the lock switch. So we're good to go. Alright, so that is a successful test. Let's go ahead, I'm going to go ahead and close this, and close that. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to use my Universal Fightboard updater here. Open that thing up. I actually use it so often that I have it as an icon button on my Stream Deck. So there you go. You guys can see that now. Go ahead and slide that off to the right there. Let me go ahead and do this. So just alright, good. Just disconnect the wire like this, and then you hold your PS and share select. So that's these right two buttons. I'll know here in a minute. Yeah, good. And it comes up and it says start. So that means it is in update mode. And you just come over and click the start button, like so. And it's going to do its thing. Don't disconnect the wire or anything like that. Okay, it says done. So then just go ahead and click finish. Alright, so that is good to go. Oh, Ogami, welcome. Alright, now I am a little paranoid about my fight stick build, so I always go back in and check them again after I do the update, just to make sure that, you know, something funky didn't happen. I've never had any issues, but it's always good to just double check. But we're good to go. Everything seems to be working as planned because Brook is awesome and they make good stuff and their updates are great. Alright, so that's up to date, so let's go ahead and cancel that and hit OK, and we are now ready to button this up. So I'm just going to go ahead and disconnect the wire there. You'll notice I didn't plug it in real far because I didn't need to, but it does screw on, and it has like this silicone gasket here to create a nice clean connection that is dust and junk. It's like a protector to prevent junk and dirt and water and stuff to get inside, so that's kind of nice. Alright, so we're good here. And actually, let's see, I can reuse this bag that, I forget what came in this. Maybe the wires. I'll just plug, I'll put the Pro cable in there, so it's got a nice little baggie when it arrives in France. Perfect. Alright, let's grab the bottom. Like so. Set this down on the bench. And put this back on like so. Get it lined up. Push it down. Perfect. Man, that weighs like nothing. Alright, and we're going to grab our electric screwdriver again because just make short work of all this. Boom. And I can't tell you guys where to get one of these in the States, but I assume Holmes Holmes is Japan. Home Depot or Lowe's has plenty of things like this that aren't very expensive. I got this one at a store called Holmes here in Japan, and I think I paid like 30 bucks for it. It's not, I don't feel like it's the greatest quality screwdriver I've ever bought, but it was between this one, which was like 3,000 yen, which is about $30, or another one that was like 70,000 yen, or $70. And I didn't really think I needed the $70 screwdriver. Cool thing is, it does have a light on it, so you can see your work. And I'm not going, you know, super tight with these. There's no need to. I'm just getting them in hand tight, basically, or very small electric motor tight, I guess. All right, so we clean that up just to make sure there's no fingerprint smudges on it for when we pack it up. And we are donezo. There you go. No, I don't have a Smashbox. There is, so Smashbox, great controller, I guess, if you're a Smash player. I'm not a Smash player. I don't pretend to be a Smash player. Every time I've tried to play Smash, I've gotten whooped because I want to play it like a traditional fighting game, and it's definitely not a traditional fighting game. I don't want to devote the resources to developing that custom circuit board that interacts with the GameCube and the Wii. I don't have the resources, if you will, to do that. And my whole motto with my builds is to make them as easy as possible. That's why I developed the easy build system. That's why I make all the wiring and everything for the cases available as a kit, so that you have the easiest and best experience. And unfortunately, until this is my full-time job, not just a part-time hobby-ish job, I don't have the time to sit down and actually think through and redesign a bunch of stuff like that. Plus, I'm at a disadvantage because I don't play the game, so it doesn't make sense for me to design something for something I don't know very much about. So, no, I don't have one. Sorry. Okay. Alright, so I think we can call this build good. Now the next step is just to grab some of our bubble wrap here and then wrap this thing up and get it ready for shipment. So with that, I'm not going to bore you with those details on watching that. It's loud, it's annoying, and frankly, who wants to watch someone pack things up and ship them? That's terrible. It's boring as hell. So, yeah. I appreciate you guys tuning in for this build. Maybe I'll have another one or two this weekend, I don't know. Busy weekend, I think, getting things cleaned up and caught up. It's spring, it's cold outside, my wife is sick, so I think for me it's going to be a lot of time in the house, taking care of her, and just doing some chores and stuff around the house. I've got some server upgrades I need to do to my Unraid server. I got a new 3U server that I'm going to add to the mix that adds some hard drives to it and whatnot. I do have a mini ITX case floating around here somewhere that I got to finish a build on that. Just a lot of little personal projects that I'm going to try and knock out while the wife's sick and not wanting to go see things around Japan and in Tokyo specifically. So it's unfortunate too because Evo's this weekend and I wanted to go, but I'm not going to be able to now. So, things happen. You got to take care of the things that matter, and unfortunately for me, the wife got sick, so I'm going to take care of her this weekend instead of going out and enjoying myself, because I don't think that's fair to her. Anyways, I appreciate you guys tuning in and watching this build, so thank you so very much. If you like this, make sure you give that subscribe button a hit on YouTube. Make sure you like the Facebook page. Follow me on Twitter. I'm also on Instagram. I don't think I have a little link up there, but it's just instagram.com/jasonscustoms. I post pictures of all my work there. Far less advertising for stuff I make there than anywhere else. But in any case, I appreciate you guys tuning in. And until next time, I'm Jason from jasonscustoms.com. Thanks for tuning in, and peace out.